Mabuhay! Good day, everyone! My name is Christian Licareño and I am with Krista May Balauro, and we are the Group 4 in BSA 11. Together, we will discuss the Chapter 4 in Human Behavior in Organization course entitled Personality and Values. But before we go deeper into our topic, let's try to solve some jumbled letters that we made. You only have 5 seconds to answer each of words. Let's begin.
Let's start with the first word. The correct answer is personality. Let's now go on with the second one. The correct answer is values. And the last one? The correct answer is self.
If you get all of it right, you are great. Now, let's start by discussing personality. What is personality?
The term personality is derived from Latin word persona, which refers to a theatrical mask worn by performers in order to either project different roles or disguise their identities. According to American Psychological Association or APA, personality refers to individual differences in characteristic patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving. According to Robert Park and Myers-Briggs, personality is the sum and organization of those traits which determine the role of the individual in the group.
In other words, personality is taken to be what we are and how we react and interact with each other. Each of us has a unique personality that differentiates us from other people. And understanding someone's personality gives us clues about how the people is likely to act and feel in a variety of situations. But can we measure one's personality? The answer is yes. There are 2 ways we can do this. We have these self-report inventories and projected tests. Let's discuss each of these.
Self-report inventories involve having test takers read questions and then rate how well the question or statement applies to them. This type of test is often presented in a paper and pencil format or may even be administered on a computer. A typical self-report inventory presents a number of questions and statements that may or may not describe the certain qualities or characteristics of the test subject. Projected tests involve presenting the test taker with a vague scene, object, or scenario, and then asking them to give their interpretation of the test item. It can use to look not only the person's response to a particular test item, but they can also take into account other qualitative information such as tone of voice and body language. All of this can be explored in great depth as people progress through sessions.
The determinants of personality can be grouped into 5 broad categories.
The first one is biological factor. It comprises of the whole physical aspect of a person. Heredity, for instance, is an example of biological factor. Most of us get some or most of our personal traits based from our parents' characteristic by their genes. In addition, hormonal changes, brainwave patterns, and blood pressure can contribute in the changes of our moods, feelings, and behavior. The second one is cultural factor. It comprises of traditions, customs, norms, religion, institution, moral, and social standard of a group affect the personality of group members. The culture largely determines attitudes towards independence, aggression, competition, cooperation, and a host of other human responses. According to Paul Mosen, each culture expects and trains its member to behave in ways that are accepted to the group. Next is family factor. The parents play an important part in the identification process, which is important to the person's early development. Children follow their parents, where their personality traits become similar to their parents through imitation. Their actions and words are the main baselines of their child's personality and behavior. The fourth one would be the social factor. Many other social factors like environment, group life, friends, and media with which an individual interact in his society, daily life mold their personality. We can say that whatever comes in contact with an individual's social life affects personality of that individual and develop good or bad personality. The last one is situational factor. Certain situations and circumstances can influence a person's life in a positive or negative way. The best example of this factor is what we call experiences. Happy and memorable experiences cause individuals to be optimistic and joyful. This makes them productive and effective in their daily life, while people who suffer from traumatic scenarios tend to have an opposite personality.
Let's now proceed to Myers-Briggs type indicator. Do you know what is the use of MBTI?
The Myers-Briggs type indicator has not been widely used in psychological research, but it's been used very widely in business settings. For example, in seminars aimed at improving employee self-understanding and understanding of each other, the MBTI has been developed to measure the assignment of individuals into one of 16 personality types. It derives from the combination of 4 dichotomous attitudes or functioning styles.
Extroversion. These are stipulated by events and people external to themselves. They show their feelings, learn by talking, and work well in groups. Introversion. These are people prefer private reflection, self-examination, self-discovery. They hide their feelings. They prefer to work alone and learn by watching. Judgment. Judging people are purposeful and they like structure, plans, roles, and organization. Perception. Perceiving people take a laid-back, relaxed approach. They are flexible, open to change, and like to explore. Thinking. Thinking people use logic and objective criteria. They ask why and enjoy debate. Feeling. Feeling people use their values and subjective ideas. They use a lot of words and they prefer harmony, agreement, and helping each other. Sensing. These people use their 5 physical senses to interpret the world. They like real-life examples, prefer practical exercises, and get facts while possibly missing the main idea. Intuition. Intuitive people prefer to rely on instinct. They work based on hunches and feelings, use their imagination, and get the main idea while missing some of the facts.
The MBTI consists of nearly 100 self-report items that each contain 2 statements. The respondent chooses which item best describes him or her. The MBTI assesses 4 characteristics. Unlike most other inventories, people do not obtain numerical scores for each characteristic, but instead are assigned one pole or another of each characteristic. For example, instead of obtaining a certain score on an extroversion scale, an individual is declared as an extrovert if he or she answers most questions in an extroverted direction, or alternatively, is declared as an introvert if he or she answers most questions in the introverted direction. This is true and similar with the remaining attitudes. MBTI has 3 main strengths. First, it helps create a better interview session. Asking all relevant questions help hiring managers select the best fit for the job. Knowing the personality type of a potential employee allows the interviewer to ask the right soft skills and behavioral interview questions. This way, they can get a good assessment of the candidate. Second, know a job candidate even better. Given that interviews can last as long as 3 hours, and most of the time are broken down into situational, behavioral, and technical sessions, there really isn't a lot of time to really get to know a potential employee. Yes, the resume may show a great skill set, but you also have to judge their abilities on something more than just a sheet of paper. This is where the interview is most of value. The session can be used to truly assess the skills, abilities, and work style of a job candidate to see whether they truly fit in your work culture. The third one, it aids in building better teams. The workplace is seeing lots of scenarios where employees work in teams. In other words, to build a good team, you must understand the different personalities working within. How would you get someone who is shy to share an idea? How do you manage someone with a hot temper? Knowing how to deal with different personalities and making them work as one is key to building an effective team capable of delivering results. On the opposite side, it has also weaknesses. First, the test takes time. While there are free Myers-Briggs personality tests online, some companies might prefer getting their analysis from a professional company. After all, most of the free tests only offers the basic, while a licensed company can provide in-depth analysis. Second, it costs money. Although companies can save money when they use free Myers-Briggs tests online, but most prefer a package paid. Why is that? As mentioned earlier, paying to get this test administered gives a more detailed analysis of the test that was just taken. Hiring managers or development officers need more than just a person's personality type to help them succeed. Lastly, it doesn't provide definite answers. Personality tests are useful only a certain degree. There are some people who are hybrid of different personalities, and treating them as just a member of a type indicates that the test isn't fair at all. A personality test can give you a good estimate, but it is not the final verdict as to the capabilities of a potential employee.
Aside from Myers-Briggs type indicator, we also have the Big 5 model, also known as the 5-factor model. Is the most widely accepted personality theory held by psychologists today.
Unlike other trait theories that sort individuals into binary categories, the Big 5 model asserts that each personality trait is a spectrum. Therefore, individuals are ranked on a scale between two extreme ends. The theory states that personality can be boiled down to 5 core factors, known as the acronym CANWE or OCEAN. O stands for openness. This trait features characteristics such as imagination and insight. People who are high in this trait also tend to have a broad range of interests. They are curious about the world and other people and eager to learn new things and enjoy new experiences. People who are high in this trait tend to be more adventurous and creative. People low in this trait are often much more traditional and may struggle with abstract thinking. C stands for consciousness. Standard features of this dimension include high levels of thoughtfulness, good impulse control, and goal-directed behaviors. High consciousness people tend to be organized and mindful of details. They plan ahead, think about how their behavior affects others, and are mindful of deadlines. E stands for extroversion. Extroversion is characterized by excitability, sociability, talkativeness, assertiveness, and high amount of emotional expressiveness. People who are high in extroversion are outgoing and tend to gain energy in social situations. Being around with other people helps them feel energized and excited. People with low extroversion tend to be more reserved and have less energy to expend in social settings. Social events can feel draining, and introverts often require a period of solitude and quiet in order to recharge. A stands for agreeableness. This personality dimension includes attributes such as trust, altruism, kindness, affection, and other pro-social behavior. People who are high in agreeableness tend to be more cooperative, while those low in this trait tend to be more competitive and sometimes even manipulative. N stands for neuroticism. Neuroticism is a trait characterized by sadness, moodiness, and emotional instability. Individuals who are high in this trait tend to experience mood swings, anxiety, irritability, and sadness. Those low in this trait tend to be more stable and emotionally resilient.
Here are the other personality traits related to human behavior in organization.
Core self-evaluation, the degree to which people like or dislike themselves. People with positive core self-evaluation like themselves and see themselves as effective, capable, and in control of their environment. Positive evaluation leads to higher job performance. They set more ambitious goals, more committed to their goals, get promoted more rapidly. Machiavellianism, a pragmatic, emotionally distant power player who believes that ends justify the means. People with high of this trait are manipulative, win more often, and persuade more. Narcissism, an arrogant, entitled, self-important people who needs excessive admiration. They tend to be selfish, exploitative, and treat others as they were inferior. They are less effective in their jobs. Self-monitoring, the ability to adjust behavior to meet external and situational factors. Striking contradiction between public persona and private self. They pay more attention to others' behavior. High monitors conform more and more likely to become leaders. Risk-taking, the willingness to take chances, may be best to align in a particular way with job requirements. Risk-takers make faster decisions with less information. Proactive personality identifies opportunities, shows initiative, takes action, and perseveres to completion. It creates positive change in the environment.
And that's all about personality. Now, let's hear on Krista May Manauro as she discuss all about values.
Okay, thank you, partner. We already know what is personality, so let's go to our next topic, which is the values. What is values? Values represent basic convictions that a specific mode of conduct or end state of existence is personally or socially preferable to an opposite or converse mode of conduct or end state of existence. Value is a basic condition about what is right, good, or desirable. Values are individuals' beliefs that motivate people to act one way or another. They serve as a guide for human behavior. Also, it refers to people's stable life goals reflecting what is most important to them. The values that are important to a person tend to affect the types of decisions they make, how they perceive their environment, and their actual behaviors. A person is more likely to accept a job offer when the company possesses the value he or she cares about. Are values fluid and flexible? To answer that, let's take a look to value system. Value system is a person's value rank order by intensity, and also it tends to be relatively constant and consistent. So, to answer the question if values are fluid and flexible, the answer is no, because it tends to be relatively stable and enduring. Is values important? To answer that, values is important because it is the foundation for our understanding of people's attitude and motivations, and influence our perceptions. These are the other reasons why values is important. Values provide understanding of the attitudes, motivation, and behaviors of individuals and cultures. It influences our perception of the world around us. It also represents interpretation of right and wrong. And lastly, it implies that some behaviors or outcomes are preferred over others. Can we classify values? Yes, we can classify values according to Rockich Value Survey. But first, let's define Rockich Value Survey. Rockich Value Survey, or RVS, was created by Milton Rockich, which contains two sets of values and each set containing 18 individual value items. Classification of values. There are two classifications of values, and these are the terminal values and instrumental values. Terminal values refers to desirable end state. These are values that we think are the most important or most desirable. These are the goals a person would like to achieve during his or her lifetime. The 18 individual value items of terminal values are a comfortable life, an exciting life, a sense of accomplishment, a world at peace, a world of beauty, equality, family security, freedom, happiness, inner harmony, mature love, national security, pleasure, salvation, self-respect, social recognition, true friendship, and wisdom. The next classification is instrumental values. Instrumental values refers to preferable modes of behavior or means of achieving the terminal values. This includes being honest, sincere, ethical, and being ambitious. These values are more focused on personality traits and characters. The 18 individual item value of instrumental values are ambitious, broad-minded, capable, cheerful, clean, courageous, forgiving, helpful, honest, imaginative, independent, intellectual, logical, loving, obedient, polite, responsible, and self-controlled. So let's go now to generational differences in values and the dominant values in today's workplace. Each of us is part of generation or a group of individuals living at the same period of time. A generation typically shares values and viewpoint of the world, and as a new generation comes along, those values and viewpoints change. This means that every generation looks at the world differently. So there are 4 generations, and the first one is veterans. Veterans are those individuals who entered the workforce from 1950s to early 1960s. The values that are dominant to them are hardworking, conservative, and conforming. The loyalty to the organization is the most important to them. The next one is boomers. Boomers, also known as baby boomers, are a large cohort born after World War II when veterans returned to their families and times were good. Boomers entered the workforce from the mid-1960s through the mid-1980s. They brought with them a large measure of the hyphy ethic and distrust authority. But they place a great deal of emphasis on achievement and material success. Boomers see the organization that employ them merely as vehicles for their careers. Terminal values such as a sense of accomplishment and social recognition rank high with them. Next is SIRS. The lives of this generation have been shaped by globalization, two-career parents, MTV, AIDS, and computers. SIRS value flexibility, life options, and the achievement of job satisfaction. Family and relationships are very important. SIRS are skeptical, particularly of authority. They also enjoy team-oriented work. In search of balance in their lives, SIRS are less willing to make personal sacrifices for the sake of their employer than previous generations were, but they are high on true friendship, happiness, and pleasure. So the last one is millennials. Millennials, also called Nexter, Netters, Generation Years, and Generation Nexters. These are the most recent entrants to the workforce and grew up during prosperous times. They have high expectations and seek meaning in their work. Millennials have life goals more oriented toward becoming rich and famous than do Generation Sirs, but they also see themselves as socially responsible. Millennials are the first generation to take technology for granted. More other than generation, they tend to be questioning, electronically networked, and entrepreneurial. Millennials described as entitled and needy. They may clash with other generation over work attire and communication. Generational classification may help us understand our own and other generation better, but we must also appreciate their limits. The Hofstede framework for assessing cultures have 5 factors, and these are the power distance, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity, uncertainty avoidance, long-term versus short-term orientation. Let's elaborate the 5 factors. Power distance. The extent to which a society accepts that power in institution and organization is distributed unequality. The low distance is relatively equal distribution, while high distance is relatively unequal distributions. Individualism versus collectivism. Individualism is referred to the degree to which people are prepared to act as individuals rather than as members of groups and believe in individuals' right above all else, while collectivism emphasizes a tight social framework in which people expect others in groups of which they are a part to look after them and protect them. Masculinity versus femininity. Masculinity is the degree to which the culture favors traditional masculine roles such as achievement, power, and control, as opposed to viewing men and women as equals. A high masculinity rating indicates the culture has separate roles for men and women, with men dominating the society. A high femininity rating means that the culture sees little differentiation between male and female roles and treat women as the equal of men in all aspects. Uncertainty avoidance. It is the degree to which people in a country prefer structured over unstructured situations defines their uncertainty avoidance. In cultures that score high on uncertainty avoidance, people have an increased level of anxiety about uncertainty and ambiguity, and use laws and control to reduce uncertainty. On the other hand, people in cultures low on uncertainty avoidance are more accepting of ambiguity, are less rule-oriented, take more risks, and more readily accepted changes. Long-term versus short-term orientation. People in long-term orientation look to the future and value thrift, persistence, and tradition. While in a short-term orientation, people value the here and now. They accept change more readily and don't see commitments as impediments to change. Understanding differences in value across cultures help explain the behaviors of employees from different countries.
Distinguishing personality from values. Personality represents our patterns of thinking and feeling. It is mainly about who or what we are and how we react and interact as a person. There are no judgment involved. Whereas values represent what we believe to be right and wrong. It is our point of thinking and how we make judgment. Despite of their differences, they are deeply held principles that guide our choices and influence our emotions.
And that's all about our topic. We hope you have learned a lot. Thank you for watching.